Hey, house guests, I'm Andrea Chu.
And I'm David Belleville.
And we're here once again to talk Big Brother, the week of our Tampa guy, Joseph.
Oh my gosh. First of all, it was so awesome to see somebody from Tampa play this game. We've had representatives from our area in the past. Joseph was a lot of fun to watch, quirky and unique in his own way, but nonetheless so exciting to see somebody from our neck of the woods play Big Brother.
He had a roller coaster of a week.
Yeah.
His best buddy, Quinn, was HOH. So, we had Angela, Kimo, and Rubina on the block. So Joseph thinks that he is like sitting pretty.
Sitting pretty and maybe getting too big for his britches, because he had some wild conversations leading up to his ultimate eviction. Not to get ahead of myself, like he was on one this week.
Yeah, I think it just goes to show that like even in the in-between moments, all those conversations matter.
Yeah.
He was talking to Chelsie, and she got really offended by the fact that he said, you and I are basically like playing the same game. Someone like Dr. Will never won competitions, and he's one of the greatest players, like really talking his game up when in Chelsea's view, Chelsie is like done the most and Joseph is just sitting there.
Well, to Chelsea's credit, I mean, she had a victory under her belt, an HOH. She has made more strategic moves, or at least had more strategic conversations than we've seen from Joseph. So, yeah, I do kind of feel like Chelsie was valid to take offense a little.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with Chelsie. Like, sorry, Joseph. I see like how you being there, you could have like a different perspective on it, but I totally was like, no, like she's playing a very strategic, like completely different game. Maybe he's not aware of all the ins and outs that we see. But that was like, he really missed the mark on that one. And I also don't even know why you would say that.
Yeah, it was very out of nowhere, it seemed, because it just from my own perspective, it didn't seem like at all that they were playing the same game.
No.
Joseph was very much playing his own unique individual game that Chelsie did not align with at all. So I was surprised by that, but that wasn't the only awkward conversation that he had this week with another house guest.
Yeah, he also spoke to Angela, and I thought this was actually kind of mean. I don't know. You just have to think of Angela and know that she's an unpredictable person. So you have to walk on eggshells around someone like that. And he told her at some point, he was like, I actually just don't see a way for you in this game.
Now, in his defense this time around, I will be beyond shocked if Angela makes it to the end and wins Big Brother. So
yeah,
but there are certain things you just don't say in the Big Brother house, especially when you could be gone at any moment.
Angela has had power before, and like she may have it again. Even still, even just being a voting member of the house, like she influences everything. I don't know why you would tell someone like they don't have a chance.
Well, right, because my strategy in this game would be to always try to remain on somebody's good side unless a relationship is so unrepairable. But yeah, I'm not like taking digs or jabs at anybody because I want to be in their good graces. So,
right.
But Joseph was a little bit of a social oddball. He's a character. Maybe even though it was his main focus of his game, the social strategy wasn't the way to go for him. At this point in time, Joseph is not the one on the block. It's, again, Angela, Kimo, and Rubina. So it took a veto comp. Again, the vetoes in this game so far this season have been such game changers.
Yeah.
And this one was no different because Leah ends up winning. And again, for the second time this season, Angela gets taken off the block. I have never seen the veto used so many times, let alone used to take somebody else off the block who isn't necessarily going to be a major impact for your game. I think if I'm taking somebody off the block, that's my final two. Otherwise, I'm always leaving it up to the HOH's nominees. So Leah makes a big decision after her veto win, congratulations, by the way, to take Angela off the block.
Yeah, I really love seeing this. It felt like Leah, who I like personally, I think she's really funny. I really wanted to see her like wake up in the game and start making moves. And I think she took this opportunity to like start doing that. She was like, okay, I won the veto. I'm not just going to take it as a comp win. I'm going to try to influence the game.
And she did.
She did. So her whole thought process was her and Angela are close. They get along really well. If I save Angela in this moment, she'll feel indebted to me and maybe, help me the next time that she's in power, or at least be a jury vote for me. This was a little interesting, like certainly a gamble, because this is also what Tucker thought when he saved Angela the first time, and in that like amazing moment where she was like, "Oh my God."
Yes.
And we saw how that turned out. They had one conversation where she felt a little uneasy and completely turned on Tucker. So there's no saying that could happen to Leah.
Well, and that's where I took my biggest issue with Leah doing this, because again, it's not like Angela and Leah have some final two. It's not like they've been working together all season long. And sure, you're playing for a single jury vote at this point in time. I thought that this was a mistake for Leah, especially because of the events that followed this. And I just didn't think it was necessary for her to shake up Quinn's HOH, who she's also working with, the way that she did. I don't think Angela benefits her game the way she sees it. And at this point, she sent an ally home who is going to be in the jury. And so how will Joseph respond to that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the way that I see it is at least she tried to make a move.
Yeah.
Like, I would rather take a big swing and try to make moves in the game, because there's no point in just playing safe. She's been playing safe thus far, playing safe till the end, and then you have literally no shot. So at least she tried to do something that would influence the game. Whether it's going to pay off or not, like, we won't really know until it comes into play later. But I was in support of it. I was like, do it, girl.
I guess. I can see your point. I still think it would have been a safer choice for her to just stick with Quinn's nominees.
Okay.
She won a veto, and she did need a competition win on her resume. So she, in that sense, I just thought that was going to be enough for her in her game. But nonetheless, she takes Angela off the block, and so that means Quinn has to name a replacement.
Yeah, unsure why he decided to name Joseph. I think this is where all of his alliances caught up to him, where he felt like he had no option, so he put his best buddy up there, thinking, oh, it'll be okay. He's well-liked. He trusts me. We'll be able to come back from this, versus anybody else. Like, there's still a lot of people in the house when people are like, there's not a lot of options. Like, there are. You have to stick with it.
Well, and at this point in the game, you would think that you've got a little bit of a solidified group that you're working with, but like you said, Quinn's been all over the place, and there's been so many people that he's working with that no matter who he put on the block, it was going to be revealing. We talked about this last week. You know, he was going to show his cards, and Kimo was the most revealing nomination, but that's when he put Joseph up. I mean, he kind of put Joseph in a ranking in the house.
Yeah, I feel like Quinn doesn't even like know what his cards are, to be honest. He acted like he was forced to do that when he had a lot of other options that maybe could have survived. I'm not really sure. So that actually reminds me, I have something to chew on. And that is the way that people misuse the word blindside. Quinn did this a lot this week. He was saying he was blindsided by the fact that Leah used the veto on Angela, which is like just not true. We saw an entire scene of Leah and Quinn in the HOH room discussing the possibility of her using the veto on Angela, her saying that it could benefit her game, her explaining the reasons to Quinn. She did not have to do that at all. Quinn begged her not to use it. And then when she did ultimately decide to use it, he was like, I was blindsided. You were not.
Yeah.
That's not what a blindside is. A blindside would be a move that you couldn't anticipate coming. You know, Quinn is not the only offender of this. A lot of people have said this on this show and beyond. Just because the game isn't going your way does not mean everyone is blindsiding you.
Couldn't agree more. That was well said, because that's in the name. You are blinded by what's happening, and he had plenty of warning about what potentially could come. And so you've got me on that. There is absolutely no other way to put it.
He had fair warning. Someone who I do think was blindsided was Joseph by Quinn's replacement nomination.
Angela keeps getting blindsided by people using the veto on her.
Yeah.
But it's something that you don't see coming. Your point is well taken.
Yes. So just, chew on that, everyone. And Quinn, if you hear this one day.
You got a lot to chew on.
I'm coming
Quinn.
really hard for Quinn. I think he actually seems like a nice person. Like, I feel like he would be fun to hang around, but I just do not understand what game he's trying to play.
And it's the nature of the game. If you're in the Big Brother house, your strategy and your gameplay is going to get critiqued. So thank you, Andrea, for giving us something to chew on. And so let's hop into the AI arena. I thought this game looked so much fun.
Yes.
They had to untangle the rope and hop through an obstacle course in order to extend the rope out so they could hit the buzzer. And I thought watching Joseph play this game was so entertaining. He literally, first of all, if I could domesticate any wild animal and keep it as a pet, it would be a panda, because there's so many videos of them out there kind of like slowly moving around and having a good time. And that's just kind of what Joseph reminded me of playing this game.
The way that his body moves is confusing to me. It's like, I don't know, like it's like that soundtrack is playing behind him constantly.
Yes.
At one point he needed to like move backwards and he just like fell over the bar. I loved it. I feel like I'd be really good at this game. Like I don't know. I've never tried it. They play it on a version of it on the challenge and on Survivor, and every time I see it, I'm like, I think I would nail this.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, she also has a circus background, so I feel like a circus performer can nail this comp. I would not want to go head to head with you on this one.
Well, fun fact about me.
Fun fact. We're getting to know each other here on Hey House Guests. But ultimately, Rubina wins. It's a big comp win for her as well. Leah and Rubina winning back-to-back competitions. Both of them needed some sort of big victory.
Yes.
And both of them got it. So that's going to bring us to David's diary room. We had one of the most dramatic evictions of the season, and it came down to a very narrow vote, and perhaps Mackenzie was one of those deciding votes. If you remember her in the diary room speaking to Julie, she took a hot minute to cast her vote, and ultimately she voted to evict Joseph. But in the moments leading up to this, it was very unclear of who was actually going to go home. Kimo was on the block next to Joseph, and he gave a very emotional speech that may have swayed at least one vote, and that was Mackenzie. Kimo talked about how he's playing for his brother, his native home of Hawaii. He's a representative of the LGBTQ plus community, and Mackenzie was emotional throughout. So fast forward back into the diary room. Mackenzie ultimately votes to evict Joseph and keep Kimo, and she's crediting that moment with Kimo's final speech, and swayed her vote. And so a lot of the chatter, Andrea, online has been about final speeches. Actually, do they make an impact? In this case, it did.
Yeah.
And I think I've got to credit the AI arena for ensuing so much chaos that led up to this moment. Your thoughts?
I have to say, the vote itself was like so dramatic.
Yep.
I vote to evict Joseph. I was like, whoa! I had no idea what she was going to say.
Yeah.
I do think the AI arena comes into play in the fact that people aren't planning so much what they're going to do until the time comes. It's more of a game time decision because they don't know the final two people who are going to be on the block. I mean, this is the last week. RIP the AI arena. I loved it so much.
It was good.
Yeah, but I really believe her that she made a game time decision. I don't think that she knew who she was going to say going into that room.
Well, and this kind of relates too with the fact that there's not any like strong, hardcore alliances in this game, and that allows for these kind of wishy-washy votes back and forth at the last minute, because it seems like at this point they all want to keep each other. They can't. It's the game.
Yeah, I'm going to go and say that there are no alliances in the game anymore. I know that sounds crazy, but people are really making choices as individuals. Like in theory, T-Core and Chelsie are not in the same alliance, but they are really looking out for each other and making moves to benefit each other. The Pentagon doesn't exist anymore. Everyone's gone. I guess there are friends that are sticking together. Like there's Rubina, T-Core, and Kimo, who seem to always have each other's back. But other than that, I think everyone is just kind of moving about and seeing how they feel that week and how they feel their move would benefit their game individually.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And if there's ever a season to be a bit of a floater, maybe this is it. Maybe a floater wins this game, because we look at our floaters. I think Rubina might count as one, Mackenzie, Leah, and Cam. I think that's a safe four for now to label as floaters, but none of them are necessarily in a terrible position in this game.
No, and like they've all have comp wins. They all have made moves that have affected the game in some way or another. So like no one is really sitting back. And I don't think you're like screwed if you don't have an alliance at this point, because everything is just shifting.
Yeah, and now that Tucker is out of the game, he was really the runaway victor, if you want to call it that early in the season. I think that he was probably a lot of people's favorite before he had been evicted. He certainly had the resume for that. And so nobody else has that type of a resume. So even if we're not labeling them as a floater, it's not like anybody is running away with this game right now, which makes it all the more exciting.
Mm-hmm. Someone who's certainly not running away with the game is Quinn, who is 2 for 2 for sending his closest ally, or one of his closest allies, home on his HOH. He was shocked. His face was crazy when it was announced that Joseph was going home. Yeah. I don't know how you could be that shocked, because you put him there.
And it was a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, it was a very split vote.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why he was like, oh my God, I didn't know that was going to happen. You really set it up for that to happen.
I mean, he did. He put him on the block. And this is where I have an issue with Quinn and Leah's gameplay this week. I'm very proud of Leah for winning that competition, but her taking Angela off the block forced Quinn to put someone else up. That was Joseph. And then after this eviction, they're both bawling together after the eviction, as if it wasn't their fault. Them two were the architects of evicting Joseph, who they're now claiming was Quinn, saying they had a final 2, and Leah apparently had this really close relationship with Joseph I wasn't familiar with.
Yeah, I think...
What gives?
I think that it's more on Quinn for sure than Leah, because she didn't name Joseph up there. She took Angela off. He could have put anyone else that maybe wouldn't have affected Leah's game. Something she maybe should have done is ask Quinn who he would name as the replacement before she made that move.
Yeah, that would have been a strategic gameplay
Because I think had she known it was going to be Joseph, she wouldn't have done it. But I really do think it's more on Quinn. But it's just funny. They were crying over the consequences of their own actions.
Yeah, I know. That's what frustrated me so much. It's you guys are the reason that Joseph is out. But I am going to push back a little bit that I don't think it's necessarily Quinn, because Leah didn't have to use the veto.
No, she did, though.
You could have just left the nomination.
No, I liked it. I was like, use it.
You just love the drama.
I do, yeah. At least she was like, I'm going to make a move while I have the power in my hands.
That's fair. You know what? The power was up for grabs after a very, very emotional eviction and the house coping with Joseph's loss. And we have another HOH memory game where you have to decide before or after a certain series of clips, and Chelsie walks away after a tie-breaking win. You know who I was really impressed with in this game? Was Cam. He at least made it. He made it to the end. He made it to the tiebreaker. But then all of that impressiveness went out the window when he put 36,000 seconds or something on his whiteboard for the tiebreaker. But I bring up Cam for an actual real reason, and that's the dynamics between him and Chelsie feels like they're sort of changing.
Oh, for sure.
And now that Chelsie is in power, it's very crucial for Cam to convey to Chelsie that he is on her side. She's starting to question that a little bit, and that surprises me.
I don't think she's wrong for that.
No?
I think she is seeing, like we are, that the alliances are basically breaking apart in this house. So who's to say that Cam would stay loyal to her when their alliance is gone?
Yeah.
I guess they're personally close, but she's seeing he's also personally very close with Leah and Mackenzie. So she was like, I don't really see a world where you would save me over them. And I think that's a valid concern.
Sure. In this game, you always have to be concerned about that and live with some level of paranoia. Maybe not Angela level paranoia, but some healthy level of your days could be up at any moment. Mm-hmm. But even though we've talked about the lack of alliances, there are some close relationships. I think T-Core and Kimo and Chelsie and Cam might be the two closest duos left in the house. So you could talk about Leah and Quinn's relationship, but that's kind of a strange one as well. So it just shocked me a little bit to see Chelsie questioning that, but your point's well received that it's necessary to survive. And
I like how direct Chelsie is being with everyone. Yeah. She was super direct with Angela, who was, in my opinion, trying to manipulate her. I've just been a victim this whole game. Everyone's coming for me since week 1. And Chelsie was like, that's not true, Angela. And then I really thought it was funny how she flipped it on her, and she was like, so is Taylor Hale, and she won the whole thing.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about the whole Taylor Hale reference.
Yeah, she had that loaded. She was ready.
So good.
She was ready for Angela to say something like that, and she was like, haha.
I mean, if you're going to try to make Angela feel better, compare her to one of the best Big Brother competitors ever.
Yeah. I just think like,
and then Angela started eating the Lay's potato chips.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, she started eating Lay's potato chips.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was a great moment. I totally forgot about that.
Right. I mean, I don't really know that Taylor is like one of the best players ever, but
historic.
Sure.
One of the most historic.
She made
players
history
ever.
for
Yes,
sure, for
yes.
sure. But I like that Chelsie said that. Chelsie was not about to fall for those phony tears.
No, and yeah, you know what? I you're making me like Chelsie a lot more. She's not
Yes,
taking
I really
anything
like
from
her.
anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so that brings us to her nominations. She's got decisions to make, and it ends up being Angela once again back on the block, sitting next to Kimo. So what happens next remains to be seen, but we've got two people now on the block who've been there before. The AI arena is out of the question, so it's just one chance in the veto comp to get off the block. Do you have any predictions going into this week?
I really don't know. I thought she was really gunning for Angela, and Kimo was truly just a pawn, but who knows? Like, anything could happen. We've seen Angela come off the block before. If that happens, like, I don't really know how this is going to shake out for Kimo. I think he's well liked, but I mean, he almost went home last week.
Yeah, and just in terms of social game, I think he's probably in a better position than Angela. I think Angela
for sure.
has ruffled too many feathers and gone off the rails too many times. So I do think that the odds are stacked against Kimo. In my opinion, he's the stronger competitor to get out of the game. So the veto competition is going to be very important for him.
Yeah, I think it all just comes down to who is sitting on the block come eviction night. Because if it's Angela Kimo, I think Angela will go home. But like, who knows? Who knows who it's going to be? They've used the veto every single week at this point, so who's to say they're not going to use it again?
Stretch. We will all be watching intently. Chelsea's HOH is underway. Will they or won't they use the veto? We'll be here to break it all down for you on next week's episode of Hey House Guests. For Andrea Chu, I'm David Belleville. We'll see you next time.